Hey, everybody. This is your host, Nevin Gusak of the Populist Patriot. I'm going to try and do a couple of live streams tonight. But first, I wanted to do a little personal, non political snapshot about me because, I'm so sure some of you might be a little curious to get to know me more as a human being, as a real person, because all I talk about here is mostly politics and history and economics and whatnot. So I figured it'd be kind of cool to discuss a little bit about who I am without going into too much of a personal information, personal identification, addresses, phone numbers. Not going to do that. Sorry, guys. Well, a little bit about me. I'm 47 years old. Originally from lower New York State. I live in South Florida currently. And my hobbies, well, obviously doing hosting the Populist Patriot. And I also enjoy political, historical, and economic research, history, particularly modern history. I enjoy spending time with my family, my friends. I've had a girlfriend since early January of this year. So I love spending time with her. We have a lot in common. We live not that far apart. She lives in South Florida. Uh, we met paddleboarding, which is one of my passions. I love the outdoors. I generally do not like to sit in my apartment. It's not something I really enjoy doing. I like to be on the move. I love stand-up paddleboarding. I love yoga. I love my workout. I usually do either 30 minutes up and down 59 steps, excuse me, or I take anywhere from 3 to 5 mile walks 4 times a week. I enjoy using my weight set at home to do my weightlifting, stomach crunches, the whole 9 yards. Love going to the beach. Love dining out at all kinds of restaurants, multicultural cuisine. I love it all, from Latin American, Caribbean, to obviously that would include Jamaican, Haitian, Cuban, Dominican, Colombian, Peruvian, ceviche, which is, well, Peruvian, originated in Peru, German, Italian, Chinese, Vietnamese, sushi, Japanese. I mean, just seafood, love seafood. Lobster, snapper, mahi mahi, grouper. Can't stand catfish, by the way. A fish that is overly sweet, that is wrong. That is the only things that should be really, really super, super, super sweet is like cakes and pastries. And I generally don't eat as much bread and pastries anymore because I tend to get very tired when I eat that kind of thing. Although personally, I love bread and sweets, but I stay away from it and I feel a lot more, I feel better and I feel more energetic. Um, what else? I enjoy to travel whenever I can, abroad and also within the United States, the East Coast. I do have a child who I enjoy spending time with. What else? I have a bunch of siblings, step siblings, half siblings, full blooded sibling. My attitudes in general, other than my analysis on these programs, which tends to be long range optimistic, short and midterm pessimistic. In reality, in my everyday life, I try to be as positive as possible. Um, I tend to be very laid back, easygoing, tend to hate people. Very few things piss me off. If you lie to me to gain some sort of monetary or some other type of advantage, that's a huge pet peeve. Another huge pet peeve are people that think they are right 100% of the time, even when you prove them wrong. People that can't meet you halfway. Who have no empathy. People that are excessively cruel. Don't like any of that. Uh, but generally speaking, I get along with most people. Um, what else? Any questions you have about me? Just wanted to give a little personal touch. I generally don't like to talk too much about myself on air. Um, I enjoy music, listening to music. I mean, who the heck doesn't enjoy listening to music? I don't think I've ever met anybody that says I don't like music. Um, that's another type of person I could not get along with. If you don't like music, we gotta have we have some problems. The music I tend to love is a genre called house progressive, trance, and techno. I absolutely love that type of music. I can listen to it from morning until night. I listen to it while driving. I listen to it working out. I listen to it occasionally when I do stand up paddleboarding. It's a great addition. I love it all. I like some 1980s music. I like, including hard rock, some of the hard rock from the 1980s, because I grew up in the 1980s. I was born in 1974, but grew up, all intents and purposes, in the 1980s and the early 1990s. Um, I enjoy going to the movies, although I haven't been to too many. Full confession, I disconnected cable um, for about two reasons. Really, I don't watch much TV. If I watch TV, it's usually the movies on YouTube, Premium, or Hulu, or Netflix. If I do watch series, I tend to watch The Handmaid's Tale on Hulu. I'll watch DMZ on HBO Max. I just watched that. That was pretty interesting. And I also watched Stranger Things, which is based on a actual conspiracy theory, the Montauk Project conspiracy. So I watched that, and there are some old series I like the X Files and The Sopranos. Um, my favorite movie genres, they vary from comedy to historical to alternative history to action. Those are usually some of my favorites. Horror and science fiction. I mean, there are too many movies spanning decades that I enjoy. Um, so, you know, it's like, what is my favorite food? Oh, hey, Josie, what's going on? Did you watch Game of Thrones? No, I have not. I have not watched that yet. I've heard about it. I've heard it's good. Um, you know, I guess I could talk about some of my favorite movies. Red Dawn from 1984. The Red Dawn remake 2012 kind of sucked because the Chinese communists pressured AMC Studios um, to change the villains because they were kind of pissed that the Chinese People's Liberation Army was supposed to be the invading force. So they were like basically threatening to basically take away AMC's business privileges in China with the Chinese movie market. And Red Dawn from 1984, excellent movie, excellent acting, a whole slew of well known actors and actresses there. So I recommend that highly. The Handmaid's Tale from 1990 was a good one. 1984 with William Hurt from 1984 was good. Um, oh gosh, there's a whole bunch. America, Amerika. That was a series with Chris Christopherson. I actually have that in my library, and it's also available at no charge on YouTube. That was a good movie too, a good series. I saw it actually when it came out when I was a kid, actually, and I got my hands on it on the VHS version in the early 2000s. It dated from 1987. That was a really good series, actually. Those types of movies I tend to enjoy the most. Like, what if the German Nazis, God forbid, uh, gained victory over the Allies during World War II, or what if the Soviets won the Cold War? So those kinds of movies. Dragon Day is another good movie. It talks about a Chinese communist conquest of the United States. When it comes to comedies, my gosh, there are so many. You have The Super with Joe Pesci, Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield, The Wedding Crashers. I mean, there are so many comedies that are available. Airplane One and Airplane Two. uh, As Good as It Gets with Jack Nicholson. There are so many comedies out there that I enjoy very much. When it comes to science fiction movies, I like some of the classics. The remakes of the Planet of the Apes are just eh. The Planet of the Apes that I liked were the ones with Charlton Heston from 1968 until early mid 1970s. Those were really good. The Time Machine with Rod Taylor from 1960, that was really good. Charlton Heston was in The Omega Man. I think what was that from the mid to late 1970s? Great movie. William Zerb, Charlton Heston, really good. Um, and then, of course, the science fictions. Well, one of my first science fiction movies that scared the living heck out of me was Aliens from 1986. I was hiding under my covers, scared shitless, thinking the aliens would creep up on me. So I was like barely in middle school. So a little confession there. But yeah, excellent movie. There were other movies that scared the living daylights out of me. The Thing, which came out in 1982, based on the John Carpenter novel. Some of the Stephen King books that were made into movies, like the Tommy Knockers with Jimmy Smits, and The Mist, which was also based on a Stephen King book. That was really good. The Mist series was just, and they cut it halfway. Josie, Clint Eastwood, Westerns. I'm not a huge Westerns person. I'm not trying to hate on Westerns. It's just, to each their own. Um, what was I going to say? Then there is, I'm trying to think, was Clint Eastwood in Firefox, which was an action movie? Let me look this up on my phone here. Uh, Let's see. Oh goodness. Let's see. Movie. I'm probably. Let's see. Who is in that? Yep. Yeah. Clint Eastwood. One of the Clint Eastwood movies that I liked was Firefox, which was kind of a Cold War action film about the Soviets creating the super advanced stealth aircraft, and it would threaten to shift the balance of power towards the Soviet Union and their allies. And Clint Eastwood, who played U.S. Air Force officer Mitchell Gant, had to steal it from the Soviet Union and bring it back out west. So that was a really good movie. So, just give you a taste of all kinds of movies that I like. So my tastes are rather eclectic when it comes to movies. So talked about my music, talked about my hobbies. Again, I'm not much of an indoors kind of person unless I'm really tired and I need to crash, and that doesn't happen too often. I always like to be on the go, always like to be doing something. I'm definitely not a homebody, and life is great. Despite the world going to hell in a handbasket, in my personal life, I tend to be very positive. I know a few of the subscribers on this channel know me personally, so I'm sure you can kind of all attest to that. If you have any questions for me about me personally, it's fine. I don't give out personal, I'm not going to give out my full date of birth, my social security number, my address. I'm not going to give that out on there. So, that's pretty obvious. So, any questions? Or to quote the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off, as Ben Stein would say, Bueller, Fry, Smoot Hawley. That was another fun comedy from the 1980s, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And now I'm going to take a little sip. Actually, someone who was near and dear to my heart actually taught me how to make this lime drink in honey and water. And it's an excellent night drink. I have it almost every night while working out. Dankeschön. That's right. Yes, the song Dankeschön was on Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That's right, Likovich. Very good. Well, Just give you another 30 seconds, and then I'm going to talk about a couple of news items. So I'm going to log off and log back on. But for those of you who are interested in me, politics wise or not non-politics, yes, I have a life outside of politics. It is a very fulfilling life, and I'm very blessed to have it. And I'm going to, yes, Likovich, if you're absolutely right. There are times where I just need a break from politics. And having all these hobbies, having some friends, having a girlfriend, it's the best antidote to that. I mean, I talk with her about politics from time to time, but it doesn't dominate the conversations. Do I play video games? I used to when I was a kid. I used to have Atari. I sucked at it, but it was fun. And I used to play Nintendo, The Legend of Zelda too. But with me, I'm more of an outdoors person. Get me to the beach, get me a paddleboard, bring me to yoga, get me my weight set, going out to dinner, taking long walks, 3 to 5 miles, or up and down 59 steps for a half an hour, up and down. That's my idea of fun. Going out to different kinds of cuisines, some of the nightlife, stuff like that. That's my thing. Favorite comedian? Too many to choose. Rodney Dangerfield is one. Jackie Mason was funny. Joe Pesci. As I said, I like more Vic DiBitetto. He's a New Yorker, Vic DiBitetto, and he has good independent political commentary, very common sense, not like right wing Republican, so-called right wing Republicans and Reaganites, shitting all over the poor, and not these far left flag burning anti-American types. Vic DiBitetto is a patriot. He's a champion of the little guy. He's funny as hell. And if you're from the northern New Jersey, lower New York, Long Island, you'll definitely get his humor. He is as funny as hell. Vic DiBitetto is one of my favorites. I actually saw him about back in January of this year. I saw him in one of the theaters in North Miami. He was so funny. But yeah, I mean, I like a bunch of comedy movies. I mean, Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield and Ned Beatty. That's a good one. Joe Pesci in The Super. I own that on my YouTube Premium library. There's a whole bunch of comedians I like. The Airplane movies from 1980 and 1982. With Owen Wilson and what's that guy? Vince Vaughn of the Wedding Crashers. That was good. So those give you a few. Do you prep? No, Ligovich is fine. Keep on asking these questions. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Do I prep? Yeah. I do have some preparations. I have canned items, tuna, beans, vegetables. I personally don't like to eat that in my normal diet. I like to have fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. I eat very little in the way of processed foods. I don't like putting that in my body for the most part. What else? I do practice my Second Amendment. I do exercise my Second Amendment rights. If you get my drift. I have other things, paper products and, some Clorox and disinfectants and whatnot. So, and I do have a solar powered, battery powered radio too, as well, shortwave radio. So I have some preparations. The good news is really and truly, this section of South Florida is not going to be a primary target because there's nothing of strategic value. The last base that really was of any value in South Florida, other than possibly the Key West Naval Air Station, possibly, you have in Homestead, south of Miami, you used to have a Strategic Air Command base, but it was downgraded in 1994 to an Air National Guard base. So in a weird way, that is good news. Um, so yeah, so that's good. So really, this area is not going to be a prime target for a Soviet or Chinese nuclear attack. Now, if you're living in Tampa or St. Petersburg, and I know there are some listeners, and one person who I know in particular subscribes to this channel, who I know personally, she subscribes to this channel, and I mean, Tampa, St. Petersburg is a great area to live. I have some friends there. However, it is a primary target because you have MacDill Air Base, and that is a big base. Down here, not so much. You probably will have some civil unrest under here. And once the Russians and the Chinese launch a decapitating strike that will decapitate, if that happens, God forbid, a strike against the United States, you will probably have the Cubans and Venezuelan token forces being airlifted into South Florida, for example, in the Southeast. I could see that happening. I mean, Cuba still has 90,000 troops, excluding the territorial troop militias that they have. They have a lot of artillery and older tanks in storage. And even though technically their number of military transport planes are pretty paltry, their airlines actually have quite a bit of Russian made and a couple of Western European made Airbuses. And that could be easily converted into troop aircraft. And once we're decapitated, they could conceivably fly them over the Straits of Florida. But American air power would have to be decapitated before that's made, before the Cubans are able to do that. But anyways, that's here nor there. But I've made preparations. What about Iowa? Okay. Josie, Caddyshack. Yeah, love Chevy Chase. Yes, sirree. Gotta love Chevy. Although I know people who have met him, they say he's not a nice guy in person, but the heck with it. I mean, you have movie like Modern Problems. You have the National Lampoon Vacations. Come on. National Lampoon Vacation 1983 and European Vacation. That is some funny movie comedy. Gotta love Chevy Chase. And Nothing But Trouble. That was with Dan Aykroyd. That was another funny movie, kind of underrated with Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase, Caddyshack, Spies Like Us. That was another funny movie. Oh, God, I actually should see that again, Spies Like Us. Oh, that's going to be so much fun. Okay. So what about Iowa and Nebraska? Well, I know Iowa and Nebraska, I thought in that vicinity had SAC bases and nuclear missiles, but with the downgrading, the military, with the downgrading of U.S. strategic military after the quote unquote collapse of the Soviet Union, you have a lot of the downgrading of these missiles. I think the areas you'd have to be worried about, I think, are Wyoming, the Dakotas, which I believe are where the Minutemen ICBMs are located. Parts of Virginia, like Newport News, Norfolk. I would say Washington, D.C., because that's obviously central command and control. I would take a look at also parts of Missouri and Kansas. I would look at Los Alamos. And some of this I'm getting from the old pre-1991 FEMA maps of projected primary targets for Soviet missile attack. Parts of California, too, as well. Probably Hawaii with Pearl Harbor. So, I'm looking at that. Newport News, Norfolk. That's where you have some pretty intense naval bases. So, Stratcom and Omaha. So that's where your primary targets are going to be. Florida, you're probably going to have around Jacksonville, I think, like around Mayport. You're going to have Tampa, St. Pete with MacDill Air Force Base. And I think Pensacola, or in nearby Alabama, Elgin, you have an Air Force base. And some of the industrial concentrations are going to be hit too in the United States. Now, of course, because of, globalism and free market fundamentalism and, and everything else, that Milton Friedman and Rand hijacking half of your economic policy of just opening up your borders, dump goods. That's degraded a lot of America's industrial potential. If I was the Soviets, I would be worried. If I was Americans, worried of primary targets. There are concentration of steel mills still in the Gary and East Chicago, Illinois area. You have parts of the Gulf Coast from about Lake Charles, really from Orleans, from Baton Rouge southwards, all the way to Houston, Texas, and Corpus Christi. You have heavy concentrations of petrochemicals and chemical and oil refineries, and sporadically a little bit in Brownsville, Texas, I think, too, as well. So that's where you're going to get probably those heavy concentrations of industrial might. I would also take a look at the chemical coast in New Jersey, just outside of New York City. You have a lot of oil storage, and you have some pretty big oil refineries in Linden, Elizabeth. So those areas would probably get hit. Wall Street, you don't even need to hit because it's a nothing economy. I mean, once the country is hit with an attack and Washington, D.C. is decapitated, Wall Street and all the computers and globalism and the greed and everything associated with it's going to be meaningless. So I know I'm getting into the weeds, of course, but hey, I guess politics and military issues are unavoidable on this channel. Do you think Will Smith was right to slap Chris Rock, or do you think it was staged? Okay. At first, look, I have a girlfriend. I don't really want to go too much into it. I'm not mentioning names and where they live, where she lives, all the rest of it. But if it was her and somebody was insulting her, let's just say I would be pissed. And at first, I took Will Smith's position because a man has to defend his woman's honor. A man, you got to understand, from my point of view, a man has to be protective of a woman. I'm sure many of you're married, you have girlfriends, you hopefully would agree with me. If you don't, you're entitled to disagree. With that stated, started to look into it, and I talked about it with colleagues at work, and I didn't realize it, but Will Smith was involved with an open relationship. And once you're involved with an open relationship, kind of all bets are off. It's like, Will Smith, and he was laughing. He was laughing in the audience. That's the thing. If I was really pissed, this is me. I would look pissed, or I would have a blank expression on my face because I wouldn't be laughing. And usually I'm told when I get angry, usually my ears get red and my face starts to get red, kind of my pinkish white complexion. So yeah, I think with Will Smith, I think it's the pot calling the kettle black, to be honest with you. And I'm not trying to be facetious when I say that. I'm serious. I think if you have an open relationship with somebody, to me, all bets are off. It's like, to me, when you allow another man or group of men to have sexual relations with your woman, your wife, to me, you lose credibility. Sorry, Will Smith. And I like Will Smith as an actor. That's the sad thing. I like him in a variety of movies, Independence Day, for example. And as a rapper, when I was younger in the late 80s, he was really good. It was clean rap music. And now, really just blown away. Really, the whole thing is a shame. That's what I think about that. Will Smith, talented actor. Chris Rock, funny comedian. That's what But I don't get too bent out of shape about that. Things that get me bent out of shape is what's happening in this country. These are great questions, and I love it. Isn't this fun? Well, on that note, what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this live stream. Maybe I'll do some more personal live streams where we can just talk about and just BS together and just shoot the breeze and just kind of talk about random topics if you want. And if I know about it, I'll comment. And if I don't know about it, I'll tell you I don't know. So anyways, talk to you in a few minutes. We are going to talk about some news items. All righty.